go.
All right, there we go. Okay. Well, if you all are watching this, you're watching a recording because we're having the wonderful technical difficulties of coordinating Zoom and Facebook. So, if you're watching this on Facebook later, sorry that we weren't live with you. And if you're watching on YouTube later, that's usually where you watch this anyway. So you're used to watching this as a recording. So, welcome back. Okay, last week. Who
Tell us about
remembers?
last week.
Let's talk about last week. Okay, who remembers the show Will and Grace? Okay,
Sure.
remember just Jack? Well,
Yes.
it was just
Yes.
Julie
Oh,
last
that's
week.
beautiful.
Oh, did you
So
all
I did this. So I did this like we're going to do this webinar and we were going to have the chat live. And the chat live was really fun to do, I have to tell you. But literally it was my big head on the screen talking to myself, talking about books. So it was the Just Julie show. So we got to highlight some books that, that weren't out yet and some things that were happening. So it was kind of fun.
We'll have to watch
Amanda, you're back
that.
on for a second?
I think it's letting me in, so I'm going to try the live stream again.
Okay, we'll try and get live.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we may be going live with you right now, which would be good. But if not, you can see this later on the thing on the recording. So anyway, so yes, it was the Just Julie show last week, which took me back to like very early pandemic days when I would walk around the store with my phone and like show people books before we like got all fancy and organized and did
And that's the
this.
beauty of tea time. You never know who's going to show up.
You never know. Okay, it does look like we're going live now. So that's good. So you don't ever know who's going to show up, which I was totally prepared for. I was like, okay, because I kind of was having an inkling because I was getting some reviews, and then I was like, oh, I know Tom's not here. Oh, I know so and so's gone, and I was like, at about quarter to 4, I was like, I think I'm going to be doing this by myself. So I went to we have a shelf in receiving that has all of the books that are coming out like the next day.
Oh,
So I
that's
went and
good.
grabbed a couple of those. I talked about the John Larison. So talked
Oh,
about
good.
that.
The Ancients. Yeah.
Yep, the agents talked about that. Talked about Stanley Tucci. Can't remember what else I talked about, but
You were
anyways,
democratic.
I was trying to be. I was trying to like give everybody some props. Whatever was in our basically whatever was on that shelf is what got talked about. So I'm so glad you're all here. So I'm glad the reps are back and I'm glad everybody's here watching. Sorry that it took us a little bit of time to get going live, but you haven't missed anything yet. So we're gonna start. It's gonna go Liz, Julia, Andrea, and Tom. So Liz, I think the screen share should be ready for you.
The screen share is ready for me.
All right.
And so this is our publishing event of the year.
No kidding. Can I interrupt just for a minute?
Yeah.
So good. The 60 Minutes thing was incredible.
Yeah. And, because it was under really lock and key and affidavits and all sorts of security issues, we didn't get to read it in advance as reps. So this is all just happening now. So going on sale tomorrow. This is Alexei Navalny's prison memoir. He's the Russian opposition leader who died in February of 2023, they say, of a blood clot. He was able to smuggle, after he was poisoned in 2020 and recovered in Berlin, he decided to return to Russia, where he was, of course, arrested and sent to an Arctic prison and treated terribly and kept journals. He was only given like a half a page a day to write, so he was given some writing privileges, I guess, but he was able to, through all sorts of, uh, he kept duplicate journals, so he had to just trick everybody. So he was able to smuggle this out to his widow, Yulia, who is now his spokesperson, and is really, really committed to sharing his legacy and continuing in his footsteps for a free and open Russia. So it couldn't be more timely, of course. The New York Times Book Review, there's a review today, there was one yesterday, really powerful. Some of what it says is, it might surprise you listeners to know that, well, if you followed Navalny, if you saw his documentary, he really just started as a real estate agent, and then became privy to corruption and started exposing it. And one thing led to another, and he became, his beloved country's freedom fighter, really. So humor, his idealism, it's funny. They say it's fiery, reflective, and tragic. So really good reviews for the writing, for the content, for the passion, and all of it. So this is just, like I said, a really big book. And was a family man. He died at 47 years old. It's such a sad, sad story, but he has so much left to share and inspire. So please do buy a copy because it's an important work.
Definitely. Sure. No, the 60 Minutes thing, it was so do yourself a favor and watch the 60 Minutes interview with her as well. The one thing that struck me was the question of when they were, because he was so terribly poisoned when he was out in Germany, and then when he was recovering in Germany, then he went back to Russia. And the question that the interviewer asked him, I can't remember who did the interview. I don't know if it was Leslie Stahl. I can't remember who it was. But asked, why did you go back? And she was like, there was never a question. He was always going to go back. There was never a discussion. It was just like, that's his country. Which is
And she
just
supported him. I
for
mean,
sure.
but the children are devastated. They lost their father. I mean, this
Yeah.
is very recent.
Oh yeah, no, this is
It's
this
not
year.
even
It happened in
yeah,
February.
yeah,
This happened in
exactly.
February. So it is absolutely recent history, and it is just heartbreaking. But man, what a patriot to his country and to
That's the title. Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing. So anyways,
She's
very
amazing
good.
too. She just announced that she wants to run as the opposition candidate to Putin in the next election, and I'm like, wow, they're going to go after her.
Oh, for
Oh, for
Oh, they
sure.
already are. She's under like nobody can know where she's living. She's definitely
Right.
at
Yeah.
risk.
They've threatened the whole family, like
Yeah.
Right.
the extended family too. So
It's incredible that people have that much respect for their country that they would want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, Julia, where are you going to take us?
Somewhere completely different. I am going to talk about I was at in Denver at MPIBA, and then I was on the East Coast for a few days, so I missed the last 2 weeks. So I have some catch up to do. So last Tuesday we had Michael Connelly's new book, The Waiting. This is a Ballard and Bosch novel, and I know in Southern California it's not much of a stretch to sell Michael Connelly. People know him and love him so much, and particularly the Bosch novels, but now the Ballard and Bosch novels. This book is everything you'd want. You can see it has starred reviews from Publishers Weekly and Library Journal. And it is, he sort of aged Bosch in real time. And so, Bosch pops in to sort of give some sage wisdom, and isn't necessarily at the center of everything. Renee Ballard, who is a female detective with the LAPD, does. So it's, classic Michael Connelly, gripping story, one of those ones that, exposes something true and real as you're going through, and just like a great like ride. And he does what it's him at his best. So yeah, Michael Connelly's new book, The Waiting, came out on Tuesday, and yeah.
We've hosted him a few times, not a lot, but we've hosted him a few times, and he's everything you want in person too, as far as who he is. So it's just like, if you ever have the chance to see him in person, go and do it. And his books never disappoint. So
and he loves LA so much, and he loves Southern California so much, and you can feel it in those books, in all his books, just like I always love that, where an author, even if it's a place I don't really know that well, when you can tell that they love their area that they're writing about, and not just the people. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, he is through and through LA, through and through LA. I mean, California is, but through and
Yeah.
through LA. I mean, through and through.
Yeah.
So Kim is on here, and Julia, this was one of your books. We did an interview last week. So two things y'all need to go look at. Go, and they're both Julia's books. Go look at our YouTube channel and go to the Patricia Cornwell, Dan Aykroyd interview. So much fun. And I just absolutely adore Dan Aykroyd and Patricia Cornwell. So you've got to go watch that one. But then we also did Louis Bayard and Benjamin Dreyer. We did that last week. And that's on our
What a great combo.
Oh my God, it was so good. So yes, it is on our YouTube channel. So go out and look at that, because what a combo for sure. I felt like I was like in the presence of, and Benjamin now is living in Southern California, living in Santa Monica now. And so I was like, come on down to La Jolla. And he teased out that he's actually got he's working on, so Dreyer, is it Dreyer or Dreyer? Dreyer? I think it's Dreyer, isn't it?
I thought it was Dreyer, but I don't
I
know.
think it's Dreyer, but I'm not sure.
Dreyer, okay. But anyways, he has Dreyer's English. He's got a new book that he's working on called Dreyer's Fiction.
Oh.
And so he teased that out, but don't look for it anytime soon. It's probably 2026. So anyways, that was such.
I teach Dreyer's English
Really?
at UCLA Extension. Yeah. I teach at UCLA Extension, and I teach Dreyer's English. It's a great. It makes people not hate thinking about copy editing.
Right.
So
well, and now he's in Santa Monica, Julia. Maybe he
I
can
know.
come do
I
a
didn't
guest
know that.
appearance.
I know, right?
Who knew?
Your students would love that.
I know. He was
Yeah.
he was lovely. It was such a great conversation. I didn't want it to end. They were awesome too. So two things on YouTube to go look at. So Kim, I said you had something else. I'll look at that in a second as we get to Andrea's next.
Thank you very much. Sorry that I've been gone, but life intervened. I want to talk about Grove Atlantic's one of the big books of the fall, The Elements of Marie Curie. And the subtitle really kind of contextualizes this book perfectly. How the Glow of Radium Lit a Path for Women in Science. This is by the great Dava Sobel, the author of Longitude and Galileo's Daughter, The Glass Universe, international bestseller, New York Times #1 bestseller for Galileo's Daughter. The lady can write, okay? And also been up for all the major awards, was a Pulitzer finalist. And this is the chronicle of the life of one of the most famous women in science, Madame Curie. But it also so it it basically chronicles her life, and it's a great portrait of what she did. She's still the most famous woman in science after all these years, and she won 2 Pulitzer Prizes. Hard to do. Nobel Prizes, excuse me. That's hard to do, right? 2. She is the only woman that has won 2, and is one of 2 human beings ever to win 2, a Nobel Prize in 2 different subject categories. So brilliant, hardworking, and obviously working in the right fields at the right time. What else? So like I said, it's a portrait of Marie Curie, but then it's also a group bio of all the women that she inspired to go into scientific fields, many of whom she taught and took under her wing. So she was a mentor to many other women that went to have great careers and did a lot of groundbreaking work in the sciences. So a great biography of a great woman, but then also a group biography of all the women that she inspired. So a lot going on here. And of course, it's gotten some early great reads, good blurbs. It's been out since October 8th. And so there's been some great reviews in all of the major um, book review the places that you want to go for book reviews, but also some off the book page looks as well from science journals, etc. So this is a great gift for the holiday season for anybody who's interested in science and women in science.
Yeah. We had the opportunity. There was a dinner that we went to with her and a couple other authors, and I was on the complete opposite ends of the table from her, but she was sitting across from John Evans. So John, it was a perfect that she was sitting across from John, because I would have been a little intimidated, I think, to try to have a conversation with John.
And John's not intimidated.
No, and he's got the intellectual chops to hold up with her, because I would have been like, she's here, I'm sort of here on the intellectual spectrum. So anyways, she was, we did chat for very briefly, but Dava is just wonderful. So
Yeah.
if you have the opportunity.
She is beloved by
Yes.
all of the indie booksellers
Yep.
across the land who've had a chance to meet with her. She's
Yep.
a warm and
Definitely.
she's a warm person, but she's also an intellectual powerhouse, as you note. So
Oh yeah, definitely. So she's got the chops. All right, Tom, what do you have for us today?
You know what I have. I have Al Pacino.
I talked about Al last week. He was
you
one of
did.
he was one of my, but I didn't give him a huge review, except for what I did talk about was this the interview that he did on Sunday morning, which was Chef's Kiss.
No, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was so good.
I recommend all of his interviews. I've been consuming them all. He was on Mark Maron's podcast. The New York Times did their interview podcast. David Marchese was fantastic, because Al is one of one. There's no one like him. He's and that's what comes through his voice, which you get in the interviews, but on the page, it just jumps off the page. It could be Noah. He worked with a co-writer, but they work so intimately that it's Al's voice that you get every second. So, do I need to remind us who Al Pacino is? He was stage actor who became an international film star when he starred first in Panic in Needle Park, but then the 4 movies: Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Serpico, and Dog Day Afternoon, all in 4 years. And landmark, incredible performances, landmark movies. Of course, he didn't win an Oscar until like 20 years later for Scent of a Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Been nominated many times, yes. And he, of course, has many phases. That was one phase. Scent of a Woman represented a different, more, operatic phase. I'm watching Julia's face as we think about Scent of a Woman.
I would say,
but what I loved about what?
Didn't you say comic? I mean, I don't know. I felt like that was a comedic role.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he would disagree. But what comes through in the book is is what we don't know about him. We know about all the films, but we don't know about his childhood in the South Bronx. His mother was not well. His father left the family. He was really raised on the streets, and his life could have gone in one other direction, which wasn't good. His 3 best friends from childhood all died of drug overdoses. So it's really it was a revelation to see, how does this great actor who is so inspiring and is still so committed to the art of acting, he says that's what saved me. He's a man, so that's fascinating stuff. And then you get to all the movies. It's like eating popcorn, stories about The Godfather and Francis Coppola. He doesn't settle. This is not a book about settling scores or anything like that. This is really just how he sees his life. And his editor at Penguin Press, Scott Moyers, is a great editor, so he pulled a really good book out of Al. But it's not overstating it to say that acting saved his life. Acting, but the many favorite moments, one of them was when he was very young. Someone said, "You're the next Marlon Brando," to which he responded, "Who's Marlon Brando?" Later, of course, he learned who Marlon Brando was. So the LA Times says Sonny Boy is shot through with what certainly feels like self-deprecating honesty to go with the well-worn Pacino swagger. And that's what comes through in the interviews too. Just like he is self-deprecating, but he's just going to tell you who he like what he thinks at that moment. So what a great Christmas gift and what a great picture of that period with Al.
That's when we
And
all
so,
fell in love with him, right
I
about there.
know. And Sonny Boy is what his mom called him, and that's what they called him in his childhood was Sonny. So there you have it.
Yeah. So good. Scarface. So good.
It's
Yeah, Scarface, right?
unvarnished.
Carlito's Way
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Heat.
great.
I mean, Heat.
and Heat. Yeah, yeah.
And he does live in LA, right? Or does
Mhm.
He
he?
does.
No,
Yeah.
begrudgingly, it seems.
I know that interview was, I love that because, and a lot of people don't, they think he's such a New York character. And even he is like uncomfortable in LA, though he's lived here for decades.
Decades.
Right.
What were you
I have
saying,
a
Andrea?
funny-
Oh, you go ahead, Julia. You go.
I just have a funny Al Pacino story that I'll make brief
Let's hear
from
it.
when I worked at Book Soup, which is a tourist couple, or it was a dad and his son came in and they were like, they wanted to see celebrities and they asked one of the booksellers where to go. And she goes, go have dinner at Dan Tana's, which is an old school famous Italian restaurant in West Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. And they came back the next day and they had seen Al Pacino and like it was like the end. They were like absolutely mission accomplished. And I guess he was very nice and like signed
That's
something.
great.
But also, it's like seeing Al Pacino in an Italian restaurant
At Dan Tana's.
And an iconic LA Italian restaurant.
It's perfect. I don't want to burst that bubble, but I told Tom I saw him at a CPK in Brentwood with his kids.
I like the Italian. Just as long as there's not a bathroom in the back with a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. You never know where you'll see Al Pacino, apparently.
Yeah.
And there is a story that the editor told me, like he doesn't do public events. That's not his thing, but he has been known, like even earlier this year, he went to an East LA school, I think a middle school, to just talk about acting and his life and like that's just quietly he does that. Like he does what he wants. So
Yeah. He's Al
he's
Pacino.
Al.
Like what was it? Wasn't that from Saturday Night Live? I mean Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta. Remember?
Oh,
When he's
no, I
dancing.
don't remember.
Oh, that's a great line when John Travolta is getting ready to go out and he's like getting himself all dressed up and his grandma and he comes out in his underwear. Al Pacino.
That's great. I haven't seen that movie for too long. I have to see it again.
Oh yeah, that's another classic. Another classic that probably couldn't be made these days. Anywho, on that topic, let's go. Let's throw it back to Liz.
Okay. Next in my very newsworthy books is Palestinian poet Mossab Abu Toha's Forest of Noise, his second collection, but his first with Knopf, with us, and it is getting so much media attention. This collection was written after he became very well known, or while he was becoming very well known, as writing his letter from Gaza in the New Yorker. He had a column there, and he was able he has three kids and a wife, and he was able to get out of Gaza on December 3rd after October 7th. And he's at Syracuse right now as a fellow. He's doing a big tour for this book. His Fresh Air interview I highly recommend with Terry Gross. It's so powerful. But the writing here is it's so significant and profound because it's hard to talk about and enter and understand and grasp what's going on. And this is a compassionate way. He's writing about family, and in its essence, this is a really loving collection about family, about his homeland. He founded the Edward Said English Language Library, the only English language library in Gaza, which has been destroyed. Mossab's home has been destroyed. He has lost cousins. You know, we know what's going on, but we haven't read a poetry collection like this before. So this went on sale last week. The accolades for it, it's like Ocean Vuong, Kaveh Akbar, Naomi Shihab Nye, just everybody is praising it. Um, and there's going to be a lot this week. He's going to be on MSNBC on Friday, PBS NewsHour on Thursday, Amanpour, CNN, also coming. So this is, I can't remember a poetry collection that was this, got this much attention. Cover of Poets and Writers there. And then I will just leave you with this beautiful quote from our U.S. Poet Laureate Ada Limon, who said, of Forest of Noise, and the poems within, that they are urgent, prayerful howls in the bleakest of nights, necessary and wrought out of both terror and truth. These poems sing and weep in a rough and haunting harmony. Abu Toha's work begs the reader to pay close attention, as each poetic line is, at its heart, a lifeline to survival. So there you have it. And I know you have copies, Julie, at Warwick's, and it is definitely selling quickly. So grab a copy.
Yeah, you had two very important books so far, Liz.
Yeah.
Really. And I'm glad we have copies still. So grab them.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
I have not been paying attention because I was so struck by that presentation. I want to share something. Okay. A complete departure, The Treasure Hunters Club. This is a mystery by Tom Ryan, and this is from Atlantic Monthly Press as well. And that's Grove's sister imprint, of course. And they usually do a lot of literary titles, but this is a little bit more commercial for sure. But will also appeal to literary readers, just in terms of the cleverness of the writing and the plot lines here. It's a amazingly well-crafted blend of classic tropes, and family secrets. It's got modern concerns, but takes you back to the old school day of the great classic writers at the turn of the 20th century. It's been described as everyone in my family has killed someone meets the Goonies. It's a rollicking murder mystery set in a seaside Canadian town. It touches on pirate lore. Okay, everybody likes pirate lore. Family secrets, unforgivable grudges, secret societies, and of course, naturally, a treasure that has been lost to time, now resurrected through some old journals. It has three protagonists. A 30-something gay man attempting to start over after just some bad luck and more bad luck for sure. A 20-something woman determined to make it as an author, and a teenage girl who's my favorite. She is such a great character, who's quickly learning she's a great detective, who is really close to her grandfather, who is a major character and who knows a lot about the mystery. Who I'm not going to give away any more plot details because you have to read, but she starts working with her grandfather's friends who have been sort of hiding and protecting the mystery and the treasure for years. These are three protagonists come together to solve this mystery, foil the bad guys. Hopefully, I'm not going to tell you what happens. And there is a twist at the end that I really didn't see coming. And I've talked to other early readers of this book, and they didn't see it either. So that's always nice, right? So this is a great read And I think this is just something that could work well as a gift to the mystery lover on your holiday list, gift giving list. $27 hardcover, out October 15th. So it's in stores, and great cover there too, right?
Really good cover.
Yeah. So got a lot going for it, and a fun read. After you buy the heavy books, the important books, you can pick this one up as well.
Okay, I'm a horrible human being because at the dinner that I was at with Dava Sobel, I was sitting next to Tom Ryan. I couldn't remember his name.
Well,
He was lovely, but I truly am. When my husband and I joke because we are horrible with people's names. I am the worst. I'm absolutely the worst with people's names. But Tom is lovely, and his book sounds so good. So go support Tom in this book.
Now that we know his name, yes, he's lovely.
Well, when I was talking about Dom, I was like, oh, I had this great conversation on the other end of the table, but can I remember the two authors' names? No.
well, Tom Ryan, um,
I should be
Yeah.
better than that. Come on. Anyways.
I'm glad you got to sit by him, and
Yes.
I'm glad he was out and about endorsing his
Yep.
book.
So yeah, and so do support him because it sounds like what you described it, but also when I was talking to him, it reminded me a little bit, Tom, of see, this is how bad I am. Who's the Thursday Murder Club?
Richard Osman.
Yeah,
I had a little bit of that feeling in talking with him.
I had that feeling hearing about it from Andrew.
Yeah. So if you like Richard Osman, I think that this would fit right in that alley for you.
Oh, for sure. I also agree.
Okay. All right, Julia, what do you got for us?
Okay. Again, I have a book that came out 2 weeks ago, actually. But this is one of my favorite of the season. This is Tom Colicchio's Why I Cook. And Tom Colicchio, if you don't know, is a host of Top Chef. He is also a New York restaurateur. He has a lot of restaurants that my aunt, who's a big foodie, loves to tell me all about. And this is, I think, maybe the first cookbook that's ever made me cry. It is because it's not just a cookbook, it is also a memoir. So basically, Tom Colicchio sold this book many years ago to Artisan and didn't know what he was going to do. He didn't want to do another just straight up cookbook. So he was actually thinking of giving them the money back. And then the lockdown happened and he was not cooking for other people. And what he realized and what he sort of did was think long and hard about why he loves to cook for people, where his love of cooking comes from. Spoiler alert, it's his mother and grandmother, which is the part that made me cry. And also this is a collection of his recipes of what he loves to cook for the people he loves. So there are some great recipes. There's some more complicated recipes in it, but also some very simple recipes. One of my new favorite recipes is just this orecchiette broccoli and cheese pasta that I've been making like once a week. It's kind of my I don't have time or energy to do a whole big thing, so I just throw those things together. That's become that meal for me. And I just can't say enough great things about this. If you've missed him, he's been on a lot of the talk shows and stuff like that talking about this. If you've missed him, he is just so passionate about cooking and about sort of paying homage to the women in his life that taught him to cook. And it's a gorgeous cookbook. So whether it's a gift for yourself or for someone else, I am definitely giving a copy to my aunt that loves him. But I just think it's a lovely book. And even if you don't cook a ton, there's so much in it that you can kind of buy it as a memoir. So yeah.
Well, Dee's on here and she didn't know that Tom had a book coming out. She was literally ordering as we speak. I could see her her thumbs are on the buy button.
Yeah, I get you, Dee. I get
and
you.
She said, "Can you say holiday gift?"
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it'll be a big holiday gift, I think. And I someone mentioned Tom and I at least were at an event last night, and someone mentioned that like they really liked that there was no photo on the cover, that it's just like his
It's a
name
great
and
looking book. Yeah.
yeah, and so it kind of stands out from the crowd. So I
Yeah,
like that too.
definitely. That's really fun because when we hosted Yotam Ottolenghi the other night, and I
Mm.
guess the British cover is different from the American cover. The American cover has a picture of food on it. So as he was signing 500 books, he was just like wanting to know. He goes, "Well, if you had a choice, what would you pick?" And I said, "Well, it seems like everybody's books have pictures of food." Where the British cover was just this abstract art, which this
Oh,
one just kind of like stands out because it's not food on the cover.
yeah. Yeah. I
I
love
like that.
Otto Lengi too. Those recipes are
Oh,
great.
he's and
They're fun to cook.
he is. Oh, I'm going to do chef's kiss. He's the nicest human being. He was lovely. It was so much fun. I mean, we got to be just in the green room with him signing books just for a little bit, but super, super nice guy. So
Yeah.
that was very fun.
Cool.
I got to go to one of his restaurants in London, and we didn't have we didn't have reservations. We got seats at the bar, and it was amazing.
I bet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We're
He has like
going.
a
Go
he
ahead.
has a chickpea fritter recipe that I love to cook for party. I love it's like one of my party food recipes that I bring. It's got like this like lemon yogurt dip that
Yeah.
it's so good.
So,
Yeah.
like it's always gone. You don't take anything
Okay.
home.
It's dinner time, folks.
I know I'm
I
getting
know, I'm
You
hungry.
guys are killing me right now. Which
no
reminds me,
more recipes.
I've gone back to Dee and Beth on here. Liz, when you said you ran into Al Pacino at CPK, they're in the Midwest. They say out California Pizza Kitchen, so they both were like, "What's CPK?"
What's
And then it dawned on
Yes.
California. We take everything. Everything is a
An
abbreviation.
Yeah. They're all over the place, though. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, my kids go to Chicago. All right. Okay, Tom, what do you got for us?
Okay, so speaking of great names for a writer, over half a century ago, David Cornwell became John le Carré, one of now, the most famous spy fiction writer. And tomorrow we have a new book in the Smiley series. So John le Carré passed away 3, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what's special about this book is it's by Nick Harkaway, and Nick Harkaway, another great name. That's not his real name. His real name is Nicholas Cornwell. He's John le Carre's son,
Hmm.
and but a writer in his own right. He does this Titanium Noir series. Couldn't be more different than his father's work, but he took on the task of the weight of adding another book to, because Smiley is of course the quintessential Le Carre character, and there's a gap between between Spy Who Came In from the Cold and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. There's a 10-year gap, which fans are aware of, and so that's when this book, Carla's Choice, is set in that gap. So it doesn't disturb the anything that happened in his father's, the books that he wrote. But it's another chance to revisit that world of the Cold War, Smiley and his nemesis Carla. So it's really exciting. But and one way or another, Penguin Random House published almost all of Le Carre's work. Some of it was Knopf. At the end, it was Viking, and Viking is the publisher, the American publisher of this book. So all over the world, tomorrow, this book is being published, and the early reviews in the UK are fantastic. So I think it's going to be a great success. People are going to, Le Carre, but this whole world, we all want another book if it's well done, and this one is. So the Publishers Weekly starred review said longtime Smiley fans will delight in the enormous cast of familiar characters, the thoughtful meditations on the morality of espionage, and the lived-in tradecraft. Harkaway brilliantly channels his late father's voice and in the process delivers an essential new chapter for Smiley and Carla. Mick Herron, who's like the current heir to Le Carre, I would say. Carla's Choice is a note-perfect tribute to Le Carre that feels fresh and new and yet fits seamlessly into the world of Smiley's circus in its heyday. So I think we're gonna take this slowly. There aren't gonna be a lot of books in this, but I think there'll be more. So Carla's Choice, a John le Carre novel by Nick Harkaway.
And if it passed the UK litmus test,
Yeah, exactly.
then it's legit, right? It's got to be, Those
But
reviews are the important ones.
I know, and but what a responsibility that you can tell that he feels to
Yeah.
get it right.
I read this great profile of him yesterday. I think it was in The Guardian.
Oh,
And he gave the backstory of how this all came about because his dad, at the end of his life said, I truly hope that the world of Smiley, and the circus doesn't just go by the wayside after I'm gone. And so then, after he died, his agent, I think, was trying, or the publisher in the UK was just like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Should we get somebody else to do some of these, like, extend the legacy? And his older brothers came to him and said, well, we think you should do it.
right.
And so he thought about it for a while, and he took some time, and then he wrote, like, and then he just like jumped in and wrote a couple of chapters, and it was like, I think I could do this. And so he really thought about it, and he was, of course, terrified that he
Yeah.
would screw it up. How could you not be? And just like, also because he has his own following and his own sensibility, so it's
Right.
like, it's an interesting thing, and I'm so glad that he did it, because everybody seems to be happy with it, and it's a way to, to honor his father.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do, and I think they're doing it the right way. There's a way to do this kind of publishing, and it's not the right way.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've
This
all
is,
seen what that is.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's like no one needs the money, okay?
Right.
yeah,
Okay. It's like, okay, we'll sit with this, we'll edit it, we'll do what you need to do. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's so beautiful, and like it really is getting some great reviews over there. So
yeah, it's great. Well, I'll leave you with it. This is a great intro or dedication to David John Moore Cornwell, father, husband, brother, son, ping pong player, cartoonist, wine drinker, dog walker, Germanist, Francophile, lost boy, late life Irishman, terrible cook, and to John le Carré, novelist.
Oh,
So it's perfect.
that's a great Eddie. That's awesome.
a little teary-eyed, okay?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
And
awesome.
I want to remind everybody, if you don't know, Errol Morris did a great documentary
Oh,
about Le Carré called The Pigeon Tunnel. It
Mm.
really, if you haven't been interested in his writing, he was a former spy. Watch the documentary. It'll get you so interested in reading his books.
What's the name of the documentary again?
The Pigeon Tunnel, and it came
Okay.
out in 2023. It's recent.
Okay. All right, I have to write that down.
yeah, it's really good.
There's so many things I want to watch. I think I need to have an app on my phone that will like record, or that I can put down what I want to watch, because there's so many different things, and then I forget because I think, oh, I'll remember that.
Right.
Never,
It's
never.
hard on us readers, right? Because the
Yeah.
content on TV is so good.
I know. Okay. All right. We're
But
going
we're talking
to
about books. We're talking
talking
about
about books, and we're going to lightning round. So Liz, start us off on our lightning round.
Okay. This always makes me nervous. I feel like I have to go so fast.
Talk fast.
Share. Share, and talk about something fictional for a change for me. Don't Be a Stranger. This Susan Minot. Gosh, when I was working in a bookstore in the 1990s, her short story collection Lust came out, and everybody was reading it and talking about it. And now she has Don't Be a Stranger, but it's been 10 years since her last novel. And the main character, Ivy Cooper, is a 52-year-old writer living in New York. She's invited to a dinner party by her friend, where she's not being set up, but there happens to be this musician, 20 years her junior, who is just out of prison on a drug charge, and she becomes really obsessed with him, and they have a really just incredible sexual relationship. And she is a divorcee. She has a young kid. She's telling herself that she doesn't need it to be more than just this really, you know, great fling. But of course, she does want it to be more. And so it just gets better and better as it goes along. You're there people can relate, she's about to text him. You're like, don't text him again. It's like he's not that into you, but he is into her. It's complicated. So it's really it's a good book. At first I was like, what's this going to be? I know All Fours is getting all the attention for, it's middle-aged woman exploring her freedom and all of that. But this can hold a candle to it. It's really good.
All right.
Okay.
Don't be a stranger. Love it. No, we always need those kind of stories, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, Julia, what do you got?
Okay. This is a found memoir. This is called The Silver Snarling Trumpet: The Birth of the Grateful Dead, the lost manuscript of Robert Hunter. So I was raised by Deadheads. So this is been a staple in my house. I actually gave the galley to my mom when I got it, and she absolutely raved about it. And the thing that she talked about that she loved so much, and this is a person who my parents met in San Francisco in 1972. And I'm fairly certain my mother married my father because he looked like Jerry Garcia. And and so he was also nice. But this book, what she sort of told me, and what I think I really, for me, is the greatest part of it, is it's this manuscript that Robert Hunter wrote in the 60s, after the Dead had been formed, about sort of the forming of the Grateful Dead. And it's really about young people in this time of serious change in the country, figuring out what they want to do and what they want to be and how they want to go into their adulthood. And Robert Hunter, if you don't know, was the lyricist for the Dead. Some of the classic Dead songs like Ripple or Truckin', all of the American Beauty, basically all of the American Beauty album, which I would argue is their best album, was written by Robert Hunter. The lyrics were written by Robert Hunter. And this is really about a group of young people in the 1960s, when the world is changing, figuring out who they want to be, and who they end up being is the Grateful Dead. And so it's just a phenomenal novel. It was written in the 60s. He sort of worked on it in the 80s a little bit, and then it got shelved, put in a box in the attic, and his widow found it after his death. And so it's finally coming out. It's sort of been lore in Grateful Dead circles for years that this manuscript even existed. And so it's finally come out. And my favorite Deadhead absolutely loved it. So possibly your favorite Deadhead will too.
Love it. And I love the cover. Okay, 2 questions. So it's a novel?
No, it's a memoir.
It's a memoir. Okay, it's a memoir.
It's a little bit trippy. It's it's definitely someone who's living through the 60s wrote a memoir.
So it's his. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, love the cover.
Yeah.
All right, Andrea.
I'd like to apologize for jumping out of turn last time. Sorry, Julia.
That is, hey, we are.
No worries.
We roll with it, right?
Well, listen, that's how affected I was by Liz's presentation of that poetry book. I want to talk about Bog Myrtle by Sid Sharp, an award-winning writer and illustrator, and author of The Wolf Suit that I have talked about before. Let's see, let's get you a. Yeah. See, remember that we talked about it a while ago.
Yep.
And this is kind of a loose trilogy. This is the second one in a loose trilogy. And it's just weirdly hilarious.
Scroll back up a little bit because we're just looking at some wording right now. Oh my
gosh, sorry.
There we go. Yep.
So it's as I said, weirdly hilarious, thought-provoking, and lushly painted. It's an early graphic novel for kids 6 to 11, and there's a lot of spiders. They're not too scary. They're kind of charming, and Sid Sharp just has this very interesting sensibility that I like these kind of books because I feel like there's always somebody on your kids' shopping list for books that could really, get a kick out of this and understand the sensibility and the sense of humor. And this book also, I think, would be great for anybody who's into an adult collector of children's books. This would also really work. And I just really have to say that Annick Press, who publishes this, they have really grabbed an excellent and interesting author here to like publish here in the States. They're from Canada, one of our great Canadian kids publishers. So we've got Bog Myrtle. It was out earlier this month, and there's stock at Warwick's, and this is something that I'm, hoping that people can pick up and hand to the people in their life that they think will enjoy it. It's just one of those quirky, cool titles that
I love the title. That was I was just going to say. The title's the best.
yeah. And I just, I just feel like, this is why I do what I do, okay, for those kind of books. Just like, put this in the right person's hands so that they can enjoy it. So,
yep, definitely. Love it. Bog Myrtle. The illustration on the front's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great cover. All right, Tom, bring us home.
Okay, so my last book is Clean by Alia Trabuco. She's a Chilean novelist. This is a novel in translation. And it has a little bit of The Perfect Nanny in it, if you remember that book. This is about a young woman who has come from the countryside to the city to take care of a household. So she sees the inner workings of the family. She takes care of the child for 7 years, and then the child ends up dead. So the book is a monologue. It's like in her voice, so you're hearing her story told by her. So there may be some, unreliability there. It's a fascinating, like one sitting read. Like you just can't put it down. Very much in this is Riverhead. This is their wheelhouse. They published Samantha Schweblin's Fever Dream. That was another one that was like a one sitting read you couldn't put down. And even like Tokyo Ueno Station, that was another Riverhead novel in translation. This author's first book was published by Coffee House Press. It was on the shortlist, I guess, for the Booker International Prize in its year. So this is just out. A lot of review attention to come. Maureen Corrigan on Fresh Air reviewed it last week. She called it an intense novel about class and power and the kind of deep down rot that lingers despite the most vigorous scrubbing. And Paula Hawkins calls that a masterclass in suspense. So, Clean.
Love it.
That's a good little blurb.
I know. I am just.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I don't know that it looks familiar, but I don't know. I don't know if I have a copy of that one. I'm gonna have to look.
I might be able to get you one.
Maybe we might be able to, yeah. If for all you out there, if you haven't read Fever Dream,
Yes.
go pick up Fever Dream. That is the best one sitting, just oh my God kind of read.
And maybe perfect now in Halloween time, right?
Kind of perfect now. Remember, Monstrilio was yours, Andrea, and that's that one sitting kind of read too. That's a little out there, but Fever Dream, yeah, they both really good.
Yeah.
Little
gothic horror delight right there.
Gothic, yeah. All right, we made it under an hour, even with starting late. So, woohoo! And it wasn't just my big face on the screen this time. All right, so we're heading away from events, so I don't really have much to talk about. Although we're having oh God, I can't see. I'm horrible with names. I can remember the title of the book. Fat Leonard, the Washington Post journalist who's covering the Fat Leonard trial, is coming to San Diego next week. And that's all going to come to a head in early November. So if you're in San Diego, come to that event. That should be a really interesting one. But other than that, I'm trying to think of what else is happening. Tomorrow we have Rupi Kaur, but she's already sold out. So there's a few things happening between now and December. What we are going to do, which is the first time in years, is we are doing a rep night in San Diego, kind of a tea time live in person. So is the subtitle of this little event that's happening in December. So if you are in San Diego, come and see us for that too. We'll have more information. Amanda and I are working on that. That'll come up on the calendar pretty soon. But anyways, everybody happy reading. Lots of good stuff still coming out. I see what's still coming out in the next few weeks. So
Yeah, there's more coming.
still more to come. So lots of good stuff for gifts and for your own reading pleasure. So with that, good night, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Bye.